even get to cross.
What's going on, everybody? Jolt here from the Token Minorities, and I am back with my Week 9 battle of the GBA D-League. This week we are against Magic Activator and the Memphis Drizzlies. This man is on a red hot streak. He did lose last week against Leo, but before that he had won like 4 in a row, so he is still, in my opinion, red hot, and it's going to be quite the battle for sure. But make sure to go check out the team builder if you haven't already. Of course, it'll be linked in the first line of the description below as usual. There you'll see all the details of the team that I decided to bring here for this week. But make sure, of course, to go also check out my opponent. Magic Activator will also be linked in the description below. I'm sure a lot of you hadn't really heard of him before the D-League, so make sure to go give him a look if you haven't heard of him. Why not at least give him a chance? Go take a look at his channel, and I personally do really enjoy his content, so I think you probably would as well. So let's take a look at this team preview. Before I do that, of course, I want to actually thank Under the Radar Kelly for recording this battle for me, as Greg and I both were having some issues with getting our battles recorded this week, as Greg's capture card apparently is broken and mine broke a few weeks ago, so it was a little bit of a mess trying to find someone last minute to help out on this. Also, thanks to Bird for trying. I know we had some issues with that, but thanks for trying at least. Regardless, we got it done. Here we are. Let's go ahead and talk about this matchup. As my opponent, Magic, decided to bring the Landers T, the Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, that is the Melodic, Kartana, Togekiss, and the Komala, while I decided to bring a pretty cool team. Just to briefly summarize what I talk about in the team builder, the Torn T is Life Orb with Hurricane, Hidden Power, Ice, Knockoff, and Taunt. It is pretty defensive. It's honestly very fat. It can take hits from like Mienshao, Landers Teeth, like a lot of stuff, and do a lot of damage to his team, as he doesn't really have a flying resist. His only one was Jolteon, which he actually opted to not bring, so Torn T is just a fantastic lead here in this matchup. And then the Scolipede is SD3 attacks with Z Aqua Tail. Mega Kangaskhan is Jolly Max Attack with Fake Out, Earthquake, Ice Punch, and Double Edge. And then Mew is an absolute menace against this team. It is Psychic Taunt, Calm Mind, and Roost with speed for the Max Speed Landers T. And then Seismitoad is Spadef with Leftovers, my Stealth Rocker with Dual Stab and Toxic, and my Rotom Heat is Fizz Def with speed for Uninvested Lando, and a Rocky Helmet to help chip down Kartana. So that's the team that we're bringing here this week. In terms of the lead matchup, like I already said, Torn T is my absolute best lead here in this matchup. It doesn't matter what he leads with, that's going to be able to anti-lead all of them, which is pretty nice. Now, the game plan here that I talk about in the team builder is simply to win big, because I'm not going to spoil anything now. I want you to go check out the other battles around the league just to see how things all panned out here. There's a chance that with this game, through winning this game, we actually could end up in #1 overall, the #1 overall ranking here at the end of the season, taking the #1 seed going into playoffs. That's been my goal since joining this league, was to finish the season #1. Now we have a chance to do it, but it requires winning here. It requires a little bit of help from some other guys losing, but it's possible. So we're going to do our absolute best to get the highest differential win possible here. Obviously, we want the win first and foremost, but we want the high differential win, if at all possible. That is the goal here. No disrespect meant toward my opponent, and I hope none is taken. That's just the game plan for me, because I'm trying to reach that #1 seed. So, just a little bit of a heads up there, I guess, but let's go ahead and dive right on into this. As like I said, I am going to lead off with the Torn T, as he could lead off with a variety of things, and what he's actually going to decide to do is lead off with his Landers T. So this is a really good lead matchup for me, because one, it lets me scout if he is a Choice Scarf Lando T. If he is Choice Scarfed, the only way he can knock out my Torn T in one hit is if he gets a critical hit with a Stone Edge. And even if he's like Adamant Scarf Stone Edge, it actually cannot knock out my Torn T spread in one hit, and that's part of the reason why my Torn T was designed this way, to anti-lead potential Scarfers, both this and the Mienshao. As I'm going to be able to fire off a Hidden Power Ice, revealing the Lando T is not Choice Scarfed, as he goes for a Stone Edge and reveals to be Jolly Nature. He's definitely not Adamant. I guess he could be Adamant and not fully invested in attack, that's an option, but I do manage to survive that Stone Edge quite well, as now he's going to go into his Melodic, as I go for a safe Hidden Power Ice. Literally no reason to go for anything else. I could have gone for a Hurricane, but it doesn't really make much sense to do that whenever I can just switch out after this Hidden Power Ice on the Melodic, and I can basically get this thing back in later at a time where it's more safe to click Hurricane. So I am going to switch out and go straight to my Seismitoad to get my Stealth Rocks, as The Melodic, I believe, is just going to go for recover here, I think, just in case I had grass, not trying to stall me out and whatnot. But what I do want to say here right now is that this battle that you're going to be watching here, that I'm going to be commentating, is actually a recreation of our first game that we had. We got disconnected like 25 turns into the game, and so you're going to see a few kind of awkward plays here in this game, I think, and I'll do my best to like point those out and try to explain what happened in the actual battle. Whenever we get to those points, we did our best to recreate everything and get the mods to the right level of health, basically. It wasn't perfect, but we got pretty close. We had to do it like 4 times or so in a row, so we kind of got frustrated and just settled on a couple things, but for the most part, it turned out pretty well, so we'll just move on and see how this goes. So here I'm going to go for the Earth Power, just in case he stayed in with the Melodic, because by going for Earth Power, it might let me scout to see if he's Dragon Tail, and based upon how my Mew is designed, that's just like the big win con against this team. It's a huge win con. And if the Melodic doesn't have Dragon Tail, excuse me, that means that the Mew can actually set up on Melodic as well. If it's like a Haze variant, I can taunt that and prevent that from doing anything. So that was the idea behind the Earth Power play. He didn't show me anything there. He just decided to go into his Mega Venusaur. But regardless, I'm going to take this as an opportunity to go straight into my Scolipede, because if you look at what's left on his team, this might just win right here if I go for an SD. Okay, I'm kind of thinking like, wait, Rock's on the field, Lando weakened, doesn't Scolipede just win? So I'm going to try. So we're going to see what we can do here. I go hard into my Scolipede, knowing I can take any 2 hits from this Venusaur as long as not both of them are like a hidden Power Fire, as I just go for an SD, and he reveals the Roar. So yeah, a little unfortunate there, not going to be able to go for a game quite yet, but that's still good information to have later in the game. As he roasts me into my Torn T. Now, normally I probably would have just gone for a Hurricane on this turn to take this thing out, but because in the original game he actually roared me into my Mega Kangaskhan, I'm going to go ahead and switch into the Mega Kangaskhan here, and he's just going to knock off. It's the move that did the least amount of damage on that turn. But regardless, now Mega Kangaskhan is in just as in the initial game. I'm going to fire off a Double Edge, knowing he doesn't have a switch in. Lando T weakened, Melodic is in range of 2, despite the Flame Orb, and it's not going to appreciate this Double Edge at all, as you can see, it's going to do like upwards of 40%, I think. It's hard to really know. I don't have that fancy little damage bar anymore on my games, but it looked like it did around 40% to his Melodic spread. You can see for yourself and make your own judgment here. But basically, the most important moral of the story is that this Melodic cannot take 2 of these hits, and that's really good, because now he's going to be forced to either sack this off or switch into something else to take a huge chunk of damage, because I'm clicking Double Edge, I can tell you that much, as now he's going to actually pull the switch out into the Kartana, which is fine. That is the Steel type on his team. It's probably his best possible switch into the Mega Kangaskhan at this stage in the game, which is fine with me. So he's going to go into that. He's going to take about, looks like 35 to 40% from the Mega Kangaskhan, which is pretty good damage. That's respectable. Kind of losing my voice here, I'm sorry. As I'm going to pull the switch now into my Rotom Heat, because that is my dedicated switch into the Kartana. And what you're going to see is going to go for the Sacred Sword, and it's going to do a decent amount of damage. I didn't calc at this stage if this was like a Jolly or a Timid Kartana, and I probably should have, because it turns out this is actually a Timid Kartana, and throughout the course of this game, I'm playing as if it's Scarfed, and if it's a Timid Kartana, it is not Scarfed, it is SD. So that's on me. I should have definitely probably calced that damage, but I just decided not to for whatever reason. But here I make a little bit of a misplay. Potentially, it's not really a misplay, but I could have gone for a Volt Switch on this turn. There's no way he's going to leave his Kartana in against my Rotom Heat. And if I'd gone for a Volt Switch here on this incoming Komala, I could have kept my Stealth Rocks on the field, which would have been very nice here, as he's going to be able to get off a Rapid Spin on this turn. So yeah, I didn't really play those 2 turns as well as possible, I don't think. But regardless, I'm going to Volt Switch into my Scolipede, because again, I see an opening, and I'm like, well, you know, this could just win the game. I know Komala is not going to be able to kill me. Rock Slide can't take me out from this range, especially because he's been revealed to be specially defensive from the damage from Rotom. So I'm just going to go for an SD here again, and he is going to go for a U-turn. So that means that this could very well be game, maybe? He's going to go into his Mega Venusaur here on the U-turn, and in the initial playing of the battle, I go for a Mega Horn and +2 against the Mega Venusaur. He lives on like 1 HP, okay? Like 1%. I don't know how much HP, but 1%. So he's going to be able to roar me out here just to make sure I get that damage on him. I'm just going to go for a Poison Jab. Kind of a compromise that I made because I didn't want to risk missing a Mega Horn. This was like the 4th time we tried to redo this battle. It might end up mattering in the end. You'll see that it really doesn't, but it could have ended up mattering. Fortunately, it did not. But regardless, we just go for the Poison Jab as he roars me into Mega Kangaskhan. In the original game, he roared me into the Seismitoad, so I'm going to basically basically switch now into my Mew, which is the play I made during the game so that he can get off the recovery that he got whenever he roared me into Seismitoad in the original game. And what this means is now Mew is inside, full health. This Mega Venusaur cannot touch it. The best thing it can do is knock me off because I have Taunt. So I am just going to go for the Taunt here, and this Mew might be able to try to win the game. I've already gone for game 3 times right now, which is kind of funny. This is the 3rd time I'm going for game in this match, and it's still like 6-6, so like, you know, I'm playing this aggressively like I said I would in the Team Builder. I wanted to play this game aggressively. I wanted to go for game as early as possible to try to get that high differential win, and I'm going to fire off the Taunt as he goes into the Komala, and at this point I can just go for a Calm Mind because I have absolutely no reason not to. The absolute worst thing he could do to me is go for a U-turn. And even if he does that, there's no Mon he can immediately go into that can immediately threaten this Mew. So I am just going to go for the Calm Mind as he goes for the U-turn. And he's going to go straight into his Togekiss here. And he clicked this button very fast, okay? And some of the D-League players might kind of chuckle when I say this because, like, Magic doesn't do that. Magic takes a long time when he picks his moves. Like, every single turn, it takes him a long time. And this one he picked within mere seconds, like 2 seconds, Togekiss in. So I'm like, okay, this might be Choice Scarfed, but I cannot risk that. I need to go for a Taunt. So I go for a Taunt just in case he's like T-Wave. I don't want to like lose my Mew because I'm expecting Scarfed and I just go for a Psychic or like switch out or whatever. I also wanted to keep the Rotom healthy for the Kartana, so I go for a Taunt. He flinches me anyways, not the worst thing in the world. I end up just going for the Roost here just to, you know, get that health back as quickly as possible. Since he's now been revealed to be Choice Scarfed, now I can go for a Calm Mind again, as soon as I get up another Calm Mind, it'll get to the point eventually where his Air Slashes are not doing as much damage as my leftovers are, and I'll get to break out from time to time anyways, and I'll be able to recover back and then won't be able to beat me 1v1 eventually. So here's going to go into his Komala as I go for a second Calm Mind, which is good because now I believe with this Calm Mind everything is in range of being 2-hit KO'd by this most likely. If I were to get up a third Calm Mind, everything would definitely be 2-hit KO'd by this at worst. His Fat is actually already in range of being 2-hit KO'd. Outside of this Komala, being in range of being O-Code. Outside of this Komala needs, I need like +4, so to probably be able to OHKO this Komala. So I'm just going to taunt this thing here just in case he wants to go for a Toxic, as he decides to go for a U-turn. So that's fine, good play on his end, as he is going to U-turn back into the Togekiss here. And you know, he Scarfed Togekiss. The only reason to go back into Togekiss here, unless you're just forfeiting the game, is to go for a Trick. And I contemplated going into something like Mega Kangaskhan to punish him for going for the Trick, but you know what? We want that high differential. We are going to leave the Mew in to take the Choice Scarf and just start spamming Psychic, because I am at +2 already. Like I already said, everything on his team is basically 2-hit KO'd by Psychic, and as you can see, this Togekiss is essentially no exception. Now in the original Play It Through the game, this Togekiss got critical hit on this turn and made it a guaranteed 2-hit KO. As you're going to see here, I'm actually going to miss out on the 2-hit KO, so in the reenactment, he's just going to spam Trick just to make sure that he is knocked out by the Mew here, so that's why you'll see him spamming Trick. You know, it's kind of weird to see that, but you know, that's what we're doing. We're just trying to reenact the game properly. In the actual game, though, the Togekiss was knocked out by the second Psychic due to a critical hit from the first one. So I do get a little extra leftovers recovery back, which ultimately doesn't end up mattering, but it could have, depending on how he had played around it. But fortunately, it didn't matter too much, I don't think, based upon his strategies. But regardless, going to go for the Psychic here, take out the Togekiss, and now Mew has his first kill of the game, and the first kill of the game entirely goes to Mew. So he is going to now go into his Komala after the Togekiss goes down, and I don't really know what he's going to try to do with this Komala. I can only assume he's just going to try to U-turn on me, as I would assume it might be like Wish, Protect, Rapid Spin, U-turn. That's the set I'm expecting to see, as I know this is typically a Wish Passer, or at least it has recovery. So I'm just going to go for the Psychic, expecting him to go for a U-turn. And I know after the U-turn I should still be able to stay out of range of a hit from Scarf Kartana, most likely, as he actually goes for the Toxic instead. So now I'm like, alright, so now the Komala is going to go down, and he dodges the Synchronize with Comatose, which is kind of cool. So now the Komala is going to go down to another Psychic. And the fact remains that his only way, I think, to offensively check this now is a Scarf Kartana, as the Togekiss is gone, the Lando's in range, the Mega Venusaur is in range, and the Melodic is in range, and this just goes down here to the Psychic. So I'm thinking, okay, he either has Scarf Kartana, or this is over. Like, there's no way he can kill this Mew. So we might be able to pick up 6 nice kills from Mew here, depending on how this plays out, as he decides to go into his Melodic, which is fair enough. I figured he was just sacrificing this Melodic to get a little more toxic chip on my Mew, so that he can guaranteed revenge me with his Kartana, which would make sense. I thought that was potentially his play, and if he decided to just bluff a Choice Scarf with Kartana here by going into it, I actually would have saved my Mew and switched out, and he would have had a chance probably to extend the game, but he decided to go into his Mega Venusaur, and that just tells me it's not a Scarfed Kartana, so I can just start spamming Psychic, and down goes the Mega Venusaur, and next up he's going to go into his Lando T, and unfortunately, it looks like the Tox is going to be able to knock me out on the next turn. I considered preserving the game, but I'm not going to try to preserve in the face of a Landorus T. That is potentially throwing the game. That's not something I wanted to do. So I do just go for the Psychic, knock this thing out, and my Mew was going to double down on the same turn. But regardless, all that means is that he only has the Kartana left, and I have a Rotom Heat, a dedicated counter to the Kartana remaining in the back that can just come in and finish the job regardless of what type of Kartana he is. As I am going to go into my Rotom Heat because he is not, he didn't go into Kartana earlier, he must not be Choice Scarfed. I can only assume he has SD, but I'm not going to give him a chance to potentially set up a substitute, so I'm just going to go for the Hex, despite the fact that I kind of wanted to go for a Will-O-Wisp. I'm just going to go for the Hex, despite the fact that it also might not knock this thing out. I just know that I should be able to survive whatever hit he goes for at +2, as he's already been revealed to at least not be Life Orb, so he's going to go for a +2 Sacred Sword against my Rotom, and I survive it relatively easily. That must have been a high roll, though, because the first one definitely did less than half. Like, the first Sacred Sword definitely did less than half of that +2 Sacred Sword did, so I'm not really sure on the roll. Very strange, especially because he said he was like a timid Kartana after the battle, so I'm not sure what kind of roll that was, but that might have been a very, very high roll. I'm not really sure, but regardless, we do manage to pick up the win, so good game to my opponent, Magic. Again, make sure to go check out his side of the battle if you haven't already. He had a very entertaining season to watch, I think, having started like 0-3, bottom of the power rankings, to having the 4-game win streak in the middle of the season. That's pretty exciting to watch. He knocked off some good opponents during that stretch too, so definitely a solid opponent. I know that he didn't exactly give it his all in this battle. We talked about that after the fact as well. He just felt like his playoff chances were so slim it wasn't really worth trying, which that's fair enough. That's totally his call. But regardless, it was a pretty fun game, and I was happy to see Mew do what Mew does best, and that is be unpredictable and be really good at it. So there's a little bit of an update for you guys now. Okay, so I want you... this is going to be a spoiler. Okay, this is a huge spoiler. If you don't want to know a spoiler, then like click off and maybe come back later after you watch all the battles and whatnot. But due to the results of this game, due to the result of this game and the other results of this week, there is a pretty big change in the leaderboard for the GBA D-League moving into the playoffs, and that is that 6-Foot Hacks lost. He was #1 overall. He lost to Greg. Aster, who was ahead of me in differential and tied with me in record, lost. He lost to Randy. And what this means is that because this game was a high differential win for Toronto, we have moved ourselves finally off of the #3 line, and we are #1, ranked #1 in the GBA D-League, entering the playoffs, and I'm really excited about that for sure. That was my goal going into this game. I mentioned it several times, I think, in the team builder as well as here early on in this battle, that I wanted to be #1, and that's exactly what we were able to accomplish from this game, so I'm really excited about that. Hope you guys are as well. As now we are going to be facing Randy HLD Productions and the Texas Rangers in round 1 of the D-League playoffs, and I'm sure he's looking forward to the rematch, as we were able to knock him off last time with a very narrow 2-0 victory. He's the guy with the Tapu Koko Halucha. Very scary draft. One of my harder matchups, so definitely going to be a challenge trying to prep for that again, but still going to be fun. Randy's a cool dude. He definitely deserves to have a playoff spot this season with how well he's played. So I think we are about done here. Sorry if I've come across as a little bit tired and dry tonight. It's late when I'm having to record this. I actually had just recorded this, and then I realized that, like, I usually record 2 sets of audio to make sure at least one of them is right. Like, sometimes something messes up on one of them, and on one of my audios, I had it recording my internal audio as well as my microphone. And what's funny is on the internal microphone, I had the battle playing as I'm narrating this, and there were sounds like the cries of the Pokemon and stuff. You could hear all them like really, really loudly on the same track as my personal audio. So that messed up that file. And on the other file, it recorded with my internal mic instead of my Blue Snowball. So I had to redo this whole thing. It's currently 2:45 a.m. and I cannot record this tomorrow because I will not be home. So sorry if this came across dry. I am very excited about what happened, even if it sounds like I'm not that excited because I'm super tired. But regardless, we're #1, moving into the playoffs. Let's see if we can claim that first championship. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you all next week. Peace.